LinkedIn presents.
This is the Forbes Books Podcast, conversations with remarkable individuals who are impacting the world of business and beyond. Hola, I'm Joe Pardavila. This week, I'd like to introduce you to Joseph Lucosky, a true leader and visionary in the world of corporate finance and securities law. As the founding and managing partner of Lucosky Brookman, Joseph has dedicated his career to elevating micro and small cap companies, raising capital, and guiding them towards success. Through his dedication to providing top-quality legal counsel and his commitment to excellence in all that he does, Joseph Lucosky has earned a well-deserved reputation as a trailblazer and innovator in his field. Joe, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I guess I got to start with patting you on the back. I hear you got some big award from NJ Biz, the leader in finance in New Jersey for 2023. Congratulations.
No, thank you. It was a nice surprise to receive that award, and I think it reflects the passion and perseverance and efforts of not just me, but really our whole team who get up every day in and out to serve our clients at the highest level. So it was nice to be recognized.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And I noticed that there was something I read in the article was that you're one of the few companies with under 100 professionals as part of the team to win this award. I mean, it sounds like you have a close-knit team there.
Right. So the funny thing was, apparently this award, you have to have 100 professionals in order to qualify.
Yep.
So they reached out to us not knowing we didn't have 100 professionals. And then when we said we didn't have 100 professionals, said, "Oh, sorry, we didn't know that." But then they went ahead after they investigated, the committee investigated our deal flow, our history, the high level that we practice at. They made an exception.
Wow.
And gave us consideration, and the committee selected us to be part of that very select group.
That's so cool. And so since you don't have 100, how many people are you allowed to say how many people are part of your
Sure,
team?
yeah. We are growing. We're up to 40 attorneys, about 41 attorneys, and about 50 overall with professionals, paraprofessionals and paralegals and assistants. So we are still in growth mode with the right people, the right practices, and a commitment to quality.
Excellent. And one of the things I noticed when Googling, you ever Google yourself, by the way?
I try not to.
Okay. It's a good idea.
But I've been told I should Google myself more.
It's actually fine. But the one thing I noticed about it, Joe...
My kids Google me, by the way.
They do. It's funny that you said that. You know Darren Ravel, the guy who used to write for ESPN?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Very controversial guy. And I spoke to him a couple weeks ago, and I said to him, he has this sort of... As you know from Twitter, it's a hate-filled world, but a lot of people come after him. And BuzzFeed, many, many years ago, wrote a 5,000-piece essay about why people hate Darren Ravel. And he said the other day his daughter, who's like 11 years old, Googled him, and that's the first thing that came up. So he had to explain to his daughter why people hate him. And so I don't think that's you have to worry about that.
Yeah,
Joe.
I'm not there yet. I think people generally like us.
Good. No, but so as I was Googling you, and I try to parse what you do. Man, you do a lot of stuff over there. Can you sort of boil down the essence of what your company and Lucosky and Brookman do? I mean, because it seems like you guys do a lot there.
Sure. Well, there's two parts to that question. I'm so glad you asked because I think about this a lot. There's the essence of Lucosky Brookman, meaning who we are and what we do and what we aspire to be. Then there's the part of what we actually do. So let me start with the second one first because I think it's a little easier. So we are a corporate finance, securities, capital markets, M&A, high-end boutique law firm in the greater New York City area. We're all New York lawyers, big firm trained, and we choose to practice in a smaller, more intimate boutique environment, but at the highest levels. Most of our transactions consistently are against some of the best firms in the world. The Skaddens, the Cravats, the Kirkland and Ellis, the Latham and Watkins. And that's a very special thing because when attorneys spin out of large law firms, it's usually in litigation. It's usually in intellectual property. It may be in real estate. It has very rarely, if ever, been done in a high-end capital markets and M&A practice group. And we've been able to achieve that over the last 12 years of building this firm. So to sum up the second part of this question, we are a boutique finance, capital markets, securities law firm in the greater New York area. But that is not what makes us special. What makes us special is the first part, which is the essence of Lucosky Brookman. And what I mean by that is we have, and we only hire, and we keep and retain professionals who wake up every day and want to serve our clients at the highest level. We are focused on execution and results, not process. And it's very different from most attorneys because attorneys are trained to follow the process and to track the process and to, eventually send the bill for the process. We do that too.
Yeah.
But we are less focused on the mundane daily tasks of processing, which we have to do, but more focused on the end result and the execution that we can achieve for our clients that starts and finishes with the process. So what I'm saying is we don't get bogged down by the process, even though we have to go through it. We are always looking through to see how we can get our client to that next level. And that is our sole and singular focus on every transaction.
I love that. And I want to pull that thread a little bit because you use the word process. And I've been on this soapbox for a while that we are living now in a project culture where everyone treats everything as a project. And instead of being hands-on and having a more nuanced approach to things, it's all about checking boxes. It's like, I did one, bing, 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 bing. Okay, I'm done. And instead of thinking, oh, wait, did I do that good? No. I was just checking the boxes. And it almost sounds like we've sort of like mirroring process and project. Does that happen in the world?
Oh, listen, we deal with it every day. We're working on a transaction right now where the counterparty is one of the largest law firms in the world. And we show up to the conference calls and there's 4 of us, there's 17 of them. And we get off the call. We're like, did we just achieve anything? Because they want to talk about process and they want to talk about, things that are important, but they don't necessarily advance the ball forward on the field. And we are constantly thinking on transactions, how do we advance the ball forward? How do we get to that next level? How do we exceed our clients' expectations by being good at executing what they want us to execute? And to just follow up on your point about process, there's really 2 things that I mean when I say process. First is, I think what you're saying by checking the boxes, going through the motions.
Yep.
And we don't do that at Lucosky Brookman. That is the antithesis of what we do. We will not tolerate that. We don't allow that. And everybody that works at our firm knows that. So we never just go through the motions. But we do have to check boxes in a process because we're lawyers and a lot of times we have to make filings and there's boxes to check.
You're fickle about all those little things. Yeah.
My point is we check those boxes at the highest level, but with a passion and enthusiasm, keeping our eyes focused on the end goal and the end result. And that is what is missing a lot of times from the practice of law and certainly in our practice. We sometimes are the purple elephant or the blue elephant in the room where we are talking about driving results and everyone else is talking about the piece of paper in front of them.
Wow. I love that. And so how did you figure that out? Because like you said, as lawyers, there's a lot of red tape and small print. And so you could sometimes get bogged down in that process of just making sure you get all that right. Did you have sort of like a light bulb or Oprah aha moment where you're like, this is how we do it?
Yeah, well, that's such a great question. I've been waiting for someone to ask me that question for a very long time.
That's what I'm here for, Joe.
So when we started the firm, Seth and I had both practiced at some of the largest firms in the world, as have most of our attorneys, if not all of them, except our homegrown, organic junior attorneys. But again, we started the firm very uniquely. We spun out of very large law firms and wanted to create this high-end boutique corporate and securities practice that really didn't exist. Now, there's some firms that have tried it, but they've expanded into other areas. So that's great, but we are really the only true high-end corporate boutique really on the planet that consistently does high-end deals opposite some of the largest firms in the world. So when we first started, like anybody else, we had credibility of our firms, but we didn't really have a track record. So we had to do something to compete in the marketplace. And we looked around, Seth and I sat down, we looked around the marketplace and said, what is this industry missing? And it was pretty apparent from coming from a large law firm. And by the way, there's nothing against large law firms. I love them. We were classically trained. They beat into us a commitment to quality, a work ethic that is just second to none. But when you're dealing daily with smaller businesses and entrepreneurs and those who are constantly in capital raising mode, you can't just sit on your hands. You can't just go through the process. So we realized our competitive edge was going to be focusing on results and driving to that next level and helping clients achieve their goals and objectives instead of every other lawyer that is focused on pushing paper, focused on the process, focused on, the more traditional areas of being a lawyer. So we sort of fell into it as a competing theme, and now it is our mantra. We wake up every day and we literally ask ourselves, and I ask the entire team on daily calls, what are we doing today to make our clients' lives better? What are we doing today to help them achieve their goals? What are we doing today to get them to that next level? And that's how Lucosky Brookman started.
I love that. One of the things that reminds, as soon as you were talking there, I'm like, so this guy's like the Jerry Maguire of M&A. I mean, it almost feels like, we got to make this small. We got to be more hands-on. Do you feel, you have like those Jerry Maguire vibes?
I've had, it's so funny you say that. By the way, you are very perceptive.
Oh, thank you.
I've had this conversation with so many people who have also said that over the years because, listen, we're not perfect. We don't claim to be perfect. What we do is we wake up every day and we try to work hard. We give effort, we give passion, and we drive results. But yes, we have thought about this in many over the years about our sort of own Jerry Maguire moment. And again, we're not chasing the bigger companies, the Facebooks, the Microsofts, the Amazons. That's not our base. I mean, they're huge companies. They're represented by the major firms. We're really speaking to the entrepreneur, the company that either is in startup phase or just beyond startup or really looking for that next level of capital raising or to have an exit maybe on an alternative trading platform or on an exchange listing like the New York Stock Exchange or Nasdaq. That is our sort of target market, and they deserve and they require a focus on execution. So maybe our Jerry Maguire moment was that we are going to live by that mantra of execution and results-oriented approach for these entrepreneurs. One, because they require and demand it, but two, it keeps us young and interested and happy and a lot more fun than the typical, what you would think, practice of law.
I love that. And of course, taking the other side of the Jerry Maguire is like, show me the money. At the end of the day, you got to make money.
Of course. And we do make money. And our people make money. Good. Listen, we're happy to make money. And that is, it comes with the territory. But I will say, and listen, every business has their ups and downs. We've been blessed, knock on wood, we've grown the firm every year for 12 years. Wow. Every single year, even in down markets, because I think of our reputation and commitment to execution. But we perform, we get paid. We also have a very different fee structure model. Now, we do bill hours, and that's just the DNA of an attorney. Yeah. But a lot of times we are doing fixed fee or other types of hybrid engagements that focus on results. So if we execute, we get paid more money. If we don't execute, we get paid less money. And that is a very uncommon theme among attorneys because attorneys, like accountants and some others, are trained to want to get paid for their time. Their time is their inventory. And that's great. Our time is our inventory too. There's nothing more precious than your time. But, we have figured out over the years that clients, if they place their trust in us and they place their trust in our ability to execute, are more willing to share the proceeds or share a bonus or share in the success when we are the driving factor of that success. And if we don't perform, then sometimes we may get nothing or we may get less. Yeah. And that's again a different model than what most lawyers are accustomed to.
You mentioned something about down markets. We're in the middle. We're towards the end of March. The word of recession's been kicked around quite a while, and also you're seeing mass layoffs in many sectors. How is this time in the world that we're living in affecting what you do day to day?
Yeah, it is definitely a challenging environment. I will say that, the micro and small cap worlds, they definitely are affected by the broader markets. At times there's a lag, depending on what the broader markets are doing. It doesn't automatically translate, right, like to the bigger capitalization companies. However, it eventually does catch up. And I think now we're in a time where the micro and small cap markets have been challenged. They're not dead. There's no recession in our world, although, we're keeping our eye on the ball. I would say they're challenged and deals are harder to get done. And some of them are just taking a pause. But the markets are alive and well, and they're open. And we're working every day to help our clients get through these challenging times and do whatever we can do to make their lives better and ultimately get them what they want, which is usually a Nasdaq or New York Stock Exchange listing and a big pile of money at the end of the rainbow.
Wow, that is awesome. So, I'm a podcaster, and I'm not. My wife says I'm cocky, but I like to think I'm confident. But every once in a while, after I've done something really good, I'll say to myself, "Man, Joe, you're good." I'll just sort of say that to myself. Yeah. So it's like the small wins that we all have. When do you know you have a win? Without it being just about money, like you said, it's not just about the money, but money's important. What do you consider a win?
Well, we talk about this a lot internally as well. We celebrate.
I'm not spying on you, by the way. I'm not.
You must have a direct line to our morning calls.
Yeah, if you see a shadow in the background, that's me.
So we talk about winning a lot, and it's not just winning, like you said, winning a deal or winning with money. It's, to me, the biggest win we can have is doing an amazing job for our clients and having them acknowledge that we have done an amazing job where, for example, they couldn't have gotten to Nasdaq without us. They couldn't have raised capital without us. They couldn't have gotten out of a sticky situation that we creatively restructured and figured out and helped them win. To me, we are in the service business, and you have to have an unwavering commitment to have a servant's heart. And when you make that commitment and you have a servant's heart, the greatest win is when the person you are serving acknowledges your effort and acknowledges your role in the process. And to me, that is what we wake up every day trying to do. Win our clients' affection and have them acknowledge our part of the process, which ultimately benefits them. And yeah, the money's nice too. And, we got to pay the electric bill. But it really is the satisfying part of being a servant.
That's awesome. And I feel like in your version of law, whatever you're doing, as you can tell, I didn't go to college. But in the version of the law you do, it seems like friendships and relationships is more important than others. Like a criminal attorney, doesn't matter if you're a jerk off. It's good. If you're a good attorney, you're good. But in your world, it seems like relationships is incredibly important. Am I right reading that?
Absolutely. Our slogan of our firm is relationship focused, results driven. That is the mantra of our firm. That is literally our tagline. Relationship focused, results driven. Because our community is small and reputation matters. We have, over the years, even when we started the firm, going back to how we built it with our commitment to execution, the other side to that is we built this firm based on giving. And we always say, give early, give often, and do good. Do as much good as you can. There's a quote, I forgot the quote, but it goes something like this. It's like, do as much good as you can to whoever you can, whenever you can, wherever you can, however you can. And that is really the mantra of the firm. Give early, give often, have a servant's heart, and do as much good as you can. And that is really what sort of drives us to get up every day and focus on these relationships, because they are super, super important. It's a relationship business.
Yeah. And it seems like the mindset of the company, it's sort of like you guys have a hive mind. It seems like you guys all have the same goal. How do you find people to fit that goal? Because, here's the thing, Joe. I don't know if you've heard, sometimes lawyers have a bad rap. I don't know if you've heard that. I apologize if you're just hearing it for the first time. But, sometimes, and like any profession, there's a bad apple out there. How do you make sure that the people you're bringing on board, I mean, you're a small company, even though you've been doing it for 12 years, it seems like every move is going to have a ripple effect. It's not like one of these big law firms that have hundreds of lawyers. If you hire one bad lawyer, okay, cool, we'll just knock him out, get another one. If you get one bad lawyer, it may have a ripple effect in the company. How important is the selection process of people who join you?
Listen, it is so important, and it is hard. You are right. I mean, lawyers do get a bad rap, and most lawyers don't act like us. They act like typical lawyers, and that's okay. So normally, our lead time is really long to find a good attorney, but we also have another problem. We have to now find a technical attorney who's trained in the capital markets, securities, M&A, which is very hard to find. I mean, It's not like 90% of the attorneys are litigators running around doing real estate closings and personal injury cases.
You can't go to Indeed? Isn't that the commercial? You need Indeed? That doesn't help?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I won't comment on Indeed. I don't want to.
Okay, all right, fine.
But yes, we typical lawyer, right? Not going to say something negative. But it is true. We do find the best talent available. And then what we do is we have a super regimented integration process. And really what that is we have 5 meetings a week with our senior attorneys and 3 meetings with our entire firm. Every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9:30 to 10 a.m., the entire capital markets, M&A, lending, securities group is on the line talking about deals, talking about issues, talking about solving problems, talking about industry news, collaborating, especially in this pandemic, remote environment. Nobody gets left behind. And every single day they are seeing the senior leadership of this firm, myself, Seth, and some others, drive forward, push forward. They see how we act. We lead by example. We help them take the problems they're dealing with on their transactions and walk them through the analysis on how to be proactive, how to solve problems, how to be unlike most lawyers who are not really solution-oriented. They are processing a transaction or processing whatever they're doing. So we lead by example, and we ingrain that in our people 5 times a week for senior people, 3 times a week for junior people. Wow. And then on every transaction, we lead by example. So they see us leading from the front, and eventually they start to get the hang of it. And we'll see progress where people will start to say things in a forward-looking way as opposed maybe a negative, backward-looking way. So it does work, but it takes a lot of time investment in people.
And a lot of your work is with entrepreneurs, and I like to say entrepreneurs are a rare breed. I mean, they're a glutton for punishment. They take risks. Talk to me about your relationship with entrepreneurs. I mean, it seems like you get them because you essentially had that sort of entrepreneur mindset where you left a big law firm and started your own. So essentially, you were in essence an entrepreneur. Yeah. But talk about the entrepreneurs you work with.
That's the beauty of the matchmaking process. We are entrepreneurs by heart, and we've struggled building a business. And we've, from picking out every screw and nail and piece of glass in our customized office, from letterhead to computers, we had to go through that process. So we understand what it's like to build a business from the ground up and the effort and passion and blood, sweat, and tears you put into a business. So when entrepreneurs come to us, it's like a perfect fit. Because we get it. We get that their life's work, their passion, the time that they're spending away from their kids and their family to build something that's so important to them. So it's a very natural marriage to work with entrepreneurs. Now, like you said, entrepreneurs are incredibly difficult. I'm difficult. Yeah. I'm an entrepreneur. Internally I'm difficult because I'm running the business. But entrepreneurs are difficult. They're sometimes, they're passionate too. They work all kinds of crazy hours, and they have high expectations and generally crazy demands. But again, we generally fit that mold very nicely. We sort of adapt that very well. But our clients are generally people who have taken an idea or taken over a company and now want to get it to the next level. So they're very entrepreneurial. They're very interested in results and execution. Let's face it. Every company needs money. There's not an unlimited amount of money in the companies that we work with until they get the profitability or growth or some sort of cash flow neutralization. So execution ultimately counts, and it's a very nice fit with our entrepreneurs.
And speaking of entrepreneurs, a lot of them say, starting the business, that's the easy part. The hard part is scaling, and essentially that's where you come in. In what way do you help them scale? Is it just basically through acquisition, or are you also bringing capital to them to help them grow?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. That's another great question. I mean, we really are quarterbacks. We're attorneys, but we're also quarterbacks. May not be Tom Brady, but we are quarterbacks.
I'm a Jets fan. I don't know. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So what I mean by that is, we are always thinking how to solve problems, but more than that, we're always thinking how to put the pieces of the puzzle together. A lot of times our clients will rely on us not just for legal work, but to say, hey, what do you think the next step should be? Or what do you think the next meeting time should be?
So you're that hands-on. So you're the one who says, oh, you should be acquired or you need capital. You'll weigh in on that.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Oh, absolutely. And then not only that, we will make introductions. If we have the right relationships, our Rolodex is an open book. Our motto, another one of our mottos that we preach is that, We open our relationships to our clients because the more successful we can make our clients, the more successful we will be. And you really have to live that. So yeah, we will absolutely introduce companies to the right capital finance partners, the right investment bankers, sometimes the right investment fund that makes a direct investment. But we don't cross lines. We're not trying to be bankers and finders and consultants and lawyers. We are lawyers first. We have to have a commitment to being a quality lawyer. But we can also use our Rolodex to help them achieve their goals. And we don't take fees, we don't cross lines, we don't get commissions. We want the success of our clients, but if we can do it through a relationship or an introduction or some sort of putting the pieces of the puzzle together, we will 100% do that. And again, which is unlike most lawyers who don't want that responsibility, don't want that burden. What if something goes wrong? Well, you know what? Well, if you have the right introduction, then you should do it. Why not? Right? Why withhold that from your client because you want to be a lawyer inside your own box?
And how do you handle when you have someone come to you who, since you've been doing this for so long, they say, "Hey, Joe, I think I need capital," and then to you, you're like, "Man, I think they're really more of an acquisition than getting capital." I mean, are you that into the weeds with these folks?
It depends. Sometimes that's generally not a decision we're making.
It's not what you're supposed to do, but I mean,
well, it's generally not even a decision we're making because a lot of the companies that come to us, they're entrepreneurs, they're strong-willed individuals. They generally know what they want to do. They tell us what we're doing, and then we find creative ways to go execute. But there have been times where we've said, "Hey, listen, we know you want to go and raise capital and go conquer the world on an exchange, but hey, you also have this other avenue." Maybe an acquisition is the right fit, especially now where companies who are trying to get exchange listed, New York Stock Exchange or the Nasdaq, they want to go raise capital, but the SPAC world is really big right now. Special purpose acquisition company, that these SPAC transactions are very popular, and sometimes a SPAC merger is a better alternative than a direct listing. And we'll make that assessment, and we'll give them our thoughts. In fact, we're working with a client right now that we've been trying to get them listed for months, and it's a process. And we kind of just figured out they're a better candidate for a SPAC, and we made that recommendation. Now, management, the board, everybody is all over this SPAC idea, saying, why did we wait 3 months to tell them? So yes.
No good deed, right?
Exactly. No good deed goes unpunished, yes. And that is why most lawyers are afraid to give that type of advice because they don't want to be blamed. But the reality is we didn't think of it until now because, they've evolved also in their mission, their plans, and their execution. I joke with CEOs in this business and I say, what's the magic secret? How do we do great things in the public markets, right? And I say, listen, forget about all the stuff you've heard, press releases and interviews and this and that. Do one thing, execute. Execution cures most of your problems. If you just keep your head down, put one foot in front of the other, and continue to execute, great things happen.
It's so funny you said that. I just wrote something about making a thing, and I feel like inaction is sort of like our own worst enemy. Like doing something goes a lot longer than doing nothing and thinking about it. And sometimes people say to me, how do I get a podcast like as popular as Joe Rogan? I'm like, well, do 1,000 podcasts and then see what happens. Because Joe Rogan didn't sign a $100 million deal because he said one day, I think I want to do a podcast. No, he did 1,000 episodes before Spotify even came calling. So just doing something, and I guess that's where you come in. You're the one sort of like to make the action. You are sort of you're the spark that lights the fire. It seems like
there's definitely some truth to that, but I think we've created a culture at the firm where when I'm not around or Seth isn't around, our attorneys know they take their leadership cues from us. While we do set the agenda, they're all amazing collaborators and can really carry out the mission of the firm, even when we're, like days like today, we're sitting here with you. They're out there carrying on the mission, executing for our clients, getting them to the next level.
Awesome. Lastly, you're here in our Charleston offices for Forbes Books, thinking about writing a book. Why? Why do you want to do that?
I've thought a lot about this question over the last few years. This really came up during the pandemic. And this has been a pretty long journey. I first spoke to Forbes back in, I think, the tail end of 2020, early 2021. Here we are 2 years later. A couple of reasons. Our mission inside of our firm, one among many, is to educate. And we do this for a lot of our clients. Most lawyers, they won't pick up a pen until they get a signed retainer agreement and a check. Well, we obviously want to get a retainer agreement and a check too, but prior to that, we try to educate, add value, hold hands, do things that get our clients comfortable to make sure that they know what they are getting themselves into and that they are making the right decision. So we may spend 2-3 hours up front with a company, vetting them, educating them, telling them a little bit about our experience and knowledge. So we come already from a place of education and sharing that education. And believe me, we have had the rewards of giving more of yourself than you ask from others is powerful, completely powerful. It's like, a good friend of mine many years ago said, he was saying marriage, but I'll say business relationship. Any relationship actually is kind of like a box of presents. And you may have heard this, but it was the first time I heard it with my good friend. And he said, in order for the marriage or the business relationship or any relationship to work, you always have to put more into the box than you take out. So if both sides are taking out and one person is obsessively taking out, eventually the box runs dry and the relationship falls apart. So for me, I've always been an educator. I educate our younger attorneys, our clients, our team. I love teaching. I love educating. I love seeing people grow. So this book is just an extension of that mentality of educating, growing, giving of yourself, and ultimately serving the people that you're called upon to serve.
Awesome. Joe, you complete me. No, I'm just kidding. His name is Joseph Lucosky, founding and managing partner at Lucosky Brookman, LLP. Joe, thanks for coming by.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Joe, and that'll do it for another episode of the Forbes Books Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. That way you'll receive new episodes as soon as they're available. And if you have a spare moment, I would greatly appreciate it if you could leave a review on Apple or Spotify, which would help other exceptional entrepreneurs like yourself discover the show. You can always connect with me on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Joe Pardavila. And please, don't forget the golden rule and treat others as you want to be treated. Thanks for listening. Until next time, adios.